Dale Comstock, Joe Teti. What the fuck's up, guys?
Hey man, you cussing? Didn't you just say that?
What? Yeah, you can fucking cuss, Dale. God damn it.
Yeah, that's no buzzword.
Yeah, no buzzwords, no buzzwords. Yeah, yeah. No, I always feel like I'm neutering myself, and I'm like, you can't say that word. There's just,
Hey, welcome to socialism,
yeah,
man.
I know. I'm from New Hampshire, man. So live free or die. So I'm personally betraying my bloodline when I'm like, hey, you can't say that word. It's like I need to switch this flag out with the CCP flag. Like all hail the state.
Lord.
Yeah. So yeah. So Joe.
Yes, sir.
You are a dual survivor, right?
Yeah, man.
All right.
3 seasons of dual survival. Yep.
And yeah, what is your military background?
So started right out of high school, went right in the Marines 10 days after I graduated high school, and spent 4 years in the Marines. Went to infantry school and then straight to 2nd Force Recon. Was there for 3 years. I went to 3rd Recon Battalion. I was kind of disenchanted, dude, with the Marines. Nothing against the Marine Corps, but like I had certain visions about spec ops and stuff, and unfortunately at that time there wasn't MARSOC.
Yeah.
And so there was only one Force Recon company in the entire Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And that was in Lejeune and French Creek. So I got out, and then I went back in Army SF, and then was 18 Bravo. And right when I was getting ready to ETS, I got an invite to join a government agency counter-terrorist unit. And that's Dale and I actually served in the same unit. So did that for a while, and then punched out, and then went from there to being on TV, which was kind of crazy because there was a time where if you would have taken a picture of me, somebody would have up to you and went, why are you taking a picture of that guy?
Yeah.
And next thing I'm on national TV. So I went from black to white to white.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It went from like, to like, and action to like, sir, you're gonna need to leave the premises now. Like this did not happen. Yeah. So was that Delta or was that the other one?
No, so Dale was a Delta.
Yeah.
I wasn't a Delta. It was a government. So basically the legal term that I can say
OGA?
is I was in a government counter-terrorist unit.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need to go deeper into that.
Yeah. And Dale was there. Actually, Dale was there before I was. And so, but yeah, Dale could probably talk a little bit more like as far as like, dude, it was a really, I mean, I know guys that served in Delta and like SEAL Team 6, once they get out, they can, tell people that they served in those units. Obviously, while they're serving there, they can't. But the unit that Dale and I served in, it's pretty much secrecy for life. Yeah, that's it, dude. It was that black. Yeah, and Dale will tell you. I mean, tell him he's been on both sides of the fence. So
yeah. So when my podcast blows up, can I hire y'all as my security detail so I can talk shit to everyone? No more buzzwords. I'll be like, come at me. Yeah.
We can work something out, dude.
Yeah.
No, Joe's, to Joe's point, it's my dad used to always call the alphabet company. It's like everybody's afraid to say the real name. So whatever, and we are held to non-disclosure agreements, things like that. We are told what we can say. The funny part is everybody that was overseas with us, they know exactly who we were. Okay, even though we were in a fake name or whatever, so we come back to the States, they're not held to those same non-disclosure agreements, right? Yeah. They can say whatever they want about us, and so that's actually happened. It actually happened to me on national TV. I got called out on the opening of a big show, and I won't mention the name, but the host. But basically, she introduced me as being part of this organization, and I'm like, "Holy crap, man!" So at that point, I had an invitation to come back anytime I wanted to, but as soon as she did that, pretty much she locked that door forever for me. So I wasn't that mad. I was kind of like glad because I didn't want to keep going back.
Yeah.
Drinking from the well. I mean, it was a good job. It was very, very, very dangerous job. In fact, I would tell you that it was as dangerous or maybe even more dangerous than any special forces or Delta mission I've ever been on. And the only reason why is because, basically we operated downrange as one or two other Americans, and we were surrounded by, guys that we hired locally, indigenous guys that do the pipe hitting for us and with us. So you were basically out there on your own all the time and doing the same thing where, the regular Army, the big army and special forces and others, they had a hell of a support apparatus behind them, medical, air support, etc. Whereas you were out there on your own, man, and whatever you had with you, that's what you had with you. It's kind of like my mission in Yemen, where I was downrange with 11 mercenaries all total, French Foreign Legionnaires, a couple SEALs, Israelis, and me, and we had no backside support. We had nobody to get us out if we got in trouble. We had no QRF, no air support. We had nada, man. Whatever we had on us, that's what we had to fight with and survive with. So that's kind of the organization that Joe and I did work for, and so it's one of those things. For me, I got to account for 9.5 years of my life if I go out and get an employment, and it makes things kind of tricky. But so, anyways, I remember when I was in Delta. When I was going through training, we went through basically tradecraft training, or some people call it streetcraft. Basically, it's how to avoid detection, avoid surveillance, pick up surveillance, those types of things. How to do dead drops and secret messaging and things like that. Uh-huh. And we were given a cover story, and I remember my instructor. I can't remember his name right now, but older guy, he kind of grumpy guy. And I remember he said. He said a cover story is nothing but his words were a GD lie, right? He goes, it's nothing but a goddamn lie. And he goes, and we're teaching you to lie. He goes, that's your part of your job, And so, that's what you have to do. As working for the government, we were trained to lie, and it was for a reason, for operational security and those types of things. But anyways, so that just a little bit to kind of expand on what Joe was saying about our backgrounds. But I'll let Joe take it from here.
Yeah.
It was funny because everybody, they think it's cool traveling and alias and all this stuff. Dude, let me tell you something, man. That freaking sucks. Because you check into a hotel somewhere and you're used to signing your name, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, shit, I need another piece of paper.
Yeah.
And you crumble that one up. And, so it was I got to tell you, I didn't come from where Dale did, but I can tell you what it did for me personally is it bumped my game way up because, when I got picked up and I went through the whole process, I only had a secret clearance. You had to have a TSSCI with a polygraph. And I was told when I got there, 50% of the guys don't even pass the polygraph.
Jesus.
So, and they wanted you to have a minimum of 10 years in a soft unit, blah, blah, blah. I mean, all this stuff was being told me. It was like, well, I'm not going to make it, but I'm going to give it my best shot, because we had guys like Dale and guys from, SEAL Team 6 showing up. And I'm like, well, I didn't, I wasn't in those units, but what it did for me from a mental aspect is it really kicked my game up, man. Yeah. So when I made it all the way through, got my security clearance, did my board interview, all this other crap, these gates that they called it. And then my class picked up and I went through a 6-month operator course, and it was all the stuff that Dale was telling you and then some. A lot of shooting packages, a lot of very specific schools that teach you very specific skill sets that somebody that was doing what we were doing would need, far outside of what a regular vanilla soft unit would need to know. So anyway, and then of course you go to the shooting schools and all that stuff, and it really, from an operational perspective, for me, it really bumped me way up the food chain because I had a pretty big chip on my shoulder, man, because I see these guys I'm working with, been in Delta like Dale and guys who are in SEAL Team 6 and stuff, and they're at the tip of the spear, and I'm like, all right. And by the time it was all said and done, not to pat myself on the back, but I was out shooting 90% of the guys. Matter of fact, I went to one of Jerry Barnhart's courses. I don't know if you know this or not, but if you go to one of Jerry's courses, he'll at the very end see everybody shoots, and then you'll do like a competition. And at the end of the day, whoever wins gets one of these hats, and they're very sought after. The black's got a black flag, and on the back it says Barnhart Performance. And I actually won 2 of them. And so I was like, yeah, man. So my confidence, bro, you know what it was? It was my lack of confidence, even though it was a former Marine and Green Beret, but it was it was a different level, man, because everybody there were rock stars.
Yeah.
I remember going through one of the courses, like Dale was saying, I can't remember this dude's name. Same thing, was kind of a grumpy older guy. He was a former
Yosemite Sam.
He was like an MI5 guy, and he's like, you know what? You think you're good enough to be here? And I said, yeah, I think I'm good enough. He says, well, guess what? We don't need good. We need great.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Damn.
oh shit, I'm just going to shut the hell up from now on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it was a great experience. I got to do a lot of things that I never thought in a million years I would get to do in special operations, not in my most wildest dreams. And it was only because that unit, that's what their mission was. Dale's right. You're out there flapping by yourself. You know, they used to say you're a yo-yo. You're on your own. You know, you get hemmed up somewhere. Joe who?
Yeah.
Never heard
Plausible
of the guy.
deniability.
It's like delete button.
Yeah. We don't know who that is. Yeah.
A lot of guys didn't dig that because they came from SF and the SEALs and stuff. Like, well, you don't leave anybody behind. Well, let me tell you something. In that game, your ass is new mode grass if you get hemmed up somewhere, dude. So, but anyway, yeah, great opportunity. Got to work with guys like Dale. Dale and I've been friends for a long time. I learned a lot from the guy. And so, yeah, it took me to a whole different level in my operational capabilities. And, you know, that gets back to, you know, what Dale and I are doing now with, you know, Tier 1 performance coaching is because we have all these unique experiences at a very, very high level. We've seen great leaders and shitty leaders, and we've seen what happens when, you know, you heap stress on somebody and, you know, do you have the right mindset? You know, it goes on and on and on. And there's coaches out there right now, and I hate to say this, they're coaching from a purely like book smart experience. Like, what the fuck? Like, really? What are you going to teach me? You went to some course and you got some certification from Joe Blow on how to be a performance coach?
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. What have you done? What have you done personally to teach me how to perform better? If you haven't done nothing, shut up.
Yeah.
Because I can learn nothing from you, right? Dale, I don't know. What do you think?
So that's, we're always scratching our head wondering how we're seeing these courses, basically people offering coaching certification courses, 30 days, pay your $25 and we'll make a certified life coach. How does that work? Because how do you, and I've actually coached other people that were certified coaches through Tony Robbins, and they all admit it's like they didn't, you know, they were not able to go anywhere with it because, you know what, it's hard to speak. It's hard to teach when you don't have confidence. And where does confidence come from? Confidence comes from experience, right? You know, and what did Einstein say, Joe? About
the only source of knowledge is experience.
Exactly, right? So if you don't have that experience, what are you going to do? Teach from a book, you know, with somebody else that works? And we do teach, you know, a lot of, you know, the academic stuff that supports the science stuff, that supports, you know, the experiential stuff. So we go in a lot of different areas, but again, to Joe's point, you know, I asked the same question: how can you teach me to be a better me if you yourself are not better than me? If you know, what have you done that's better than me? And by the way, being good at just one thing, you know, anybody can be good at one thing, right? So I mean, almost everybody is good at something, at least one thing. The key is, can you be good at everything that you do? And that's the difference between what Joe and I do and have done, and compared to other guys out there. Other guys are what I call one trick ponies. You know, they got one magic show. Yeah, that's it. It's like that's it.
You got one trick.
That's all I got. You know, and so you know that's the difference. So we're trying to bring this to another level. You know, continue to build off of what I've been doing for the last 3 years, what my daughter's actually been doing for the last 6 years. Basically, she's a performance coach as well. And basically, you know, we're all together, we're developing this program to take it to another level because, you know, obviously, you know, we're not into this to do it for free because we need to make a living too. This is how we make our living. But we actually believe that, you know what, we're going to give you something that has value, more value than probably a lot of, you know, going to college and buying a college degree for 4 years and coming back with nothing out of it. We're going to give you something you can use right now, literally overnight. It's, if you apply the principles we start teaching, you'll start seeing changes. And it's really the reason why Joe and I have succeeded is for the very reasons for the very things that we're going to teach. And I've actually been doing this for, you know, I didn't know I was doing it. Joe didn't know he was doing it either. I didn't know I was doing it since, you know, until around the age of 15. I discovered that something is going on here, and I figured out a way to break this code. And basically, and then it wasn't until a little bit old, when I got older, when I was 22, that I started really doing the research on this, you know, these ideas of performance coaching, autogenic conditioning, etc. And I realized that this was actually a thing that works. And so Joe unwittingly has applied these same principles. But he's learned now as well to put a name to it and go, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what it is. This is what it looks like. This is what we call it. And this is how it works, right? And a lot of successful people out there have done the same thing. They don't know it, right? People have done very well for themselves, athletes, etc. You're an autogenic conditioning fan.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? A lot of guys don't even know they're doing it, but they know they succeeded somehow. And I was that guy.
Yeah.
People say, how did you do all this stuff? I don't know. And I thought about it. I was like, oh, yeah, I know why I did not figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, I always had friends ask me that. I started working out in middle school. When I was in 8th grade, I decided I wanted to invest, and I wasn't even 18, so I had my parents open me an E-Trade account, and I worked for a summer, and I invested in Apple because I thought iPods are cool. I turned $1,000 into 16 grand. When you're 18, you're like a millionaire. And then, so Joe, you were talking about, like chip on your shoulder. So I was a meathead all my life, man. I had 3 brilliant brothers. I was an idiot. And I got to college. I was an idiot frat boy my first year at some shitty school in South Georgia. And I almost failed out. I was so stupid. In my sophomore year, I literally remember I was moving into a frat house, and I was sitting there, and I was just like, man, I'm on a fast track to flipping burgers. And I was like, I just need to start studying. And so I literally stopped drinking and smoking pot like that night and just started studying nonstop around the clock, and got A's for the first time in my life, transferred to the University of Georgia. And like you're saying, well, now everyone was much smarter than me. I was like, all right, now I'm not at this stupid idiot school. Now there's some smart guys here. Well, I just kept studying and studying and studying. 4.0. I published research. This dumb meathead, the effects of salinity on nickel toxicity to the 2 Eurohalien fish species Cryptolepidus marmoratus and Heteroclitus fungulus. That's the thing I published.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, that's what I published. Started studying for the MCAT. I scored in the 95.6th percentile of the MCAT.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive, dude.
Where I was interviewing, University of Keck School of Medicine in LA, Tulane in New Orleans, Miller School of Medicine in Miami. The chip on the shoulder. I was looking around, so they'd have groups of like 10 interviewees, and something like, it's like Men in Black, where they put all the interviewees in the one room. You kind of sizing each other up, I'd be sitting there just kind of like looking at everyone, just like trying to make small talk, and you have your name tags, and so they'd go in, the dean would read your names, it's this, and Harvard University, Stanford University, Harvard University, Yale, Harvard University of Georgia, and I'd be like, go Dogs. But like it was just me, and I was like, but then I would get accepted, and like these other kids wouldn't. And to me, that was the biggest flip in confidence, where all of a sudden it was, oh shit, I can roll with them. Like, don't let anything else. But so to bring back on everything I was saying, autogenic conditioning. So I never knew what it was. It was just, I'd done things before. I'd successes in my life before, but really I'd say the one I'm most proud of was the turn from meathead to getting into medical school. Decided not to go, but I got the acceptance. 15,000 applied, 150 got in. I got in. So like decided not to go. But for me, so when I was living in a frat house, and I was an overweight idiot, drinking and smoking, didn't know 1 + 1 was. So what I started to do is I'd exercise in the morning, and every day I'd meditate, and it just helped me for anxiety. But I didn't realize till years later that there was a method to what I was doing. But what I would do is like, it wasn't just like, okay, I have to get 4.0s. It would be like, what is it going to be like to get a 4.0? Be like, what is that feeling? Not just I get a 4.0. What's that feeling of like closing the laptop in December and being like 4.0? Okay, now let's go get fucked up. Like, and I'd feel the emotions. I'd be like, what's it gonna be like? Telling my parents, telling my brothers who are all smart. Like, and then as the years went on, I vividly remember 9 months before I took the MCAT, just meditating one day, and I was like, what will it be like? How's it gonna feel? How am I gonna make it happen? I have 9 months to do it. I can do it. And even with this podcast, setting it up, it was always visualization. It was always feel it, and it was always tell myself it's gonna happen. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Tell myself it's gonna happen. And it wasn't until I read Dale's book, and as you remember, Dale, I emailed you. I was like, holy fuck, I never knew anyone else did. Because whenever I bring it up to anyone, I'd be like, do you guys ever meditate or focus on? They look at me like, the fuck, man? And I'd be like, oh yeah, and I don't know, I was just kidding, And I read Dale's book, and I was like, finally, because the only other people that had ever said, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, I'd be like, well, I don't really want to be associated with you guys, because they'd be, the long hair, dropping acid, like it's all about visualization, and like, hey, I'm not harping on psychedelics, I enjoy them, but I was like, god damn it, like they're not, I can't really, that doesn't give me any credibility. And then there's Dale, and I was like, here's the most hardcore motherfucker on the planet, and Dale's talking about visualization, seeing it before it's here, telling yourself it is here, not worrying about how it will get here. And I was like, validation. After 29 years, I was like, validation. Here's the antithesis of like the hippie. It's fucking Dale Comstock. And I was like,
it works, man.
Yeah. And then he told me about you, and I was like, oh, holy fuck, I feel less crazy. I know I'm going on a rant, but even I read Space Barons. It's about Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. They don't talk about it specifically, but the one thing they do talk about unwittingly is they're like, yeah, and Bezos and Musk, they both have this thing where like you'll always see them like they'll be having a meeting, and they'll just close their eyes in silence for like 10 minutes, and everyone will be looking around, and then they'll open their eyes and they'll be like, buy this company, or like, nope, fire him, or get these lawyers. And it's like, what did they do? And it's like, they say they go ahead in time and they see. And I'm like,
let me tell you,
billionaires are saying
great
that.
Story, dude. I've been reading about the gentleman, and he deserves every penny that he has. Because let me tell you, that guy had a really high-paying job that he walked away from. A high-paying job.
Yeah.
That most of us would be like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Walked away from it. Started Amazon in his garage.
Yeah.
And look at it. So I hear people busting on that guy all the time. You're just fucking jealous.
Yeah, that's what they are. No, they're bottom feeders.
Because he took a risk. He left a high-paying job. He had a vision, and he made it happen.
Hustled. He hustled.
He made it happen. Kudos. Mr. Bezos, if you're watching, you're the freaking man.
Yeah, okay? No, fuck communists, dude. I fucking hate all those.
Tommy, what you were saying earlier, what you were describing, it really is frequency. It's actually, there's a thing called success frequency. It's actually real energy, real frequency. It's thinking on a different, it's like, I think we mentioned this before, it's like turning the dial on your radio and looking for a different type of,
tuning
you want to
in.
hear opera, you want to hear, rap, whatever, right? And you're changing frequency until you get there. And actually, when you think about it, depending on the frequency that you change, you might get to like elevator music, and that might make you relax, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to get really jacked up, you flip it to, some, whatever, heavy metal, whatever, and, you're fired up. And it's the frequency, the vibration, etc., right? It actually ties into the law of vibration, with universal laws. So, with all that said, actually, again, Einstein said it. He said there's actually a success frequency. He said if you want to be who you want to be, you want to be all that you can be, you have to get on that success frequency. You have to ratchet up to that level, right? And you mentioned these guys meditating, studying. That's what that is. Joe and I are basically what our program has. Just put this out there is. What we're pushing is this is proprietary. Nobody else has this. Nobody else does this. Nobody else knows it the way we do. It's called psychosoma training, what I call mind-body engineering. So it's connecting the mind and the body to work together, right, through frequencies. And so that's the key to success. I saw an ad yesterday on Facebook, and it was promoting Alpha. I think it was Alpha Mind or something like that, right? Alpha Waves, right? So, and they're saying you can take a pill and it gives you the Alpha Waves. I call bullshit on that. You can't take a pill to get Alpha Waves, right? To make you superhuman. It's really the energy that you have is derived from within. You generate it from within, right? And basically, whether it's good energy, positive energy, negative energy, whatever kind of energy it is, it's going to dictate the direction that you go. We can get into this all day long. I don't want to go into all what we're doing, but to the point that you made earlier, success really is not just dependent on, I got a positive mindset, I'm going to do this. It's methodology, and you already know that. It's thinking a certain way. You actually said it a few seconds ago. There was visualizing it in the here and now and actually feeling it and sensing it, as well as saying, is a positive affirmations. That's part of this whole process, right? So, and that's where we're going with this thing. With what we're doing is we're delivering that piece. Plus, there's a lot of ancillary supporting type tenets that we build in this thing. For example, Joe and I talk a lot about leadership, right? You can't, if you want to be successful, you've got to be able to lead yourself. And what does that mean, right? So we really dig deep in that one, self-leadership, right? And not to be confused with leading other people, it's leading yourself, right? So It means developing certain habits, et cetera, and a certain mindset. So anyways, Joe, and by the way, you mentioned something a minute ago about investing. So Joe, believe it or not, was a Wall Street investor too, among his other things. So tell me about that story, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, man. So in between my Marine Corps and Army career, so I got out of the Marines, and I had a cousin that lived in Vegas. He was a percussionist with Wayne Newton.
Oh,
and
shit.
So I was getting out, and I ended up calling him. I was real close to him. He's like, "Hey, man, why don't you come and hang out in Vegas for all?" I'm like, "Shit.
Yeah.
I'm 21 years old,
Yeah.
Off to Vegas I went." So I left Okinawa, Japan, flew to Las Vegas. And long story short, after about 6 months, I ran out of money, and so I met this woman, and I started dating her, and she was a stockbroker, and she said to me one day, she's like, "Why don't you become a stockbroker?" I said, "Look, I haven't even been to college.
Yeah.
I barely graduated high school." She's like, "You don't have to have a college degree."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Well, you do have to pass a very hard test, the Series 7 and the 63. And I said, "Oh boy, it's a lot of math." And she's like, "Yeah, a lot." I'm like, "Oh boy, that's like my worst subject in school. Like, whatever, trigonometry, can't even spell it."
Yeah.
But anyway, it wasn't even that. It was, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, percentages and that shit. But anyway, long story short, so I told her, I said, "I don't even have the money to go to the course." It was at UNLV, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. It was called the Longman course. And so, like, you had to buy books and stuff. She's like, "Look, I'll loan you the money. I know you'll do well. I'll tutor you." So anyway, I go to this course, right? Study. It was the most boringest shit, dude. I literally stood through probably 90% of our lectures, like, because I was just like this the whole time. So I was just standing there, splashing water on my face, doing the old school stand up if you're falling asleep, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, I take the test and I passed the first time.
Woo.
Which is unheard of. Like they say, like 80% of the people don't pass the first time. Well, Bear Stearns said, if you pass the first time, we'll give you $1,000 bonus and all this other stuff. So anyway, I paid her back, and I was a stockbroker for 5 years. And so I ended up getting my registered investment advisor license as well. I was mildly successful. I was, 23. I would say I got it at 22. Yeah, I was like 23, and I was rocking and rolling. I was making like $75,000 a year.
Yeah.
Back then, that dude, like you said, I was like,
yeah, 20 year millionaire.
Yeah, I'm a billionaire, right? So living in Vegas, partying hard, all thing. But anyway, I learned a lot about the market. I still trade to this day by myself. I've traded cyber currencies, and so it was a great learning experience for me. But what it did, again, like Dale and I talk about this all the time, you take all these tools that you just gathered along your life. I picked up a wrench and a hammer and a screwdriver. Well, I got to tell you, man, I remember this dude's name to this day. And I'll tell you, he was one of my mentors. His name was Mark Behringer. And I'll tell you right now, this dude could sell a freaking ketchup icicle to a lady in white gloves. And I swear to you, brother, this guy was the consummate salesman. So I learned a lot about the sales process. And it is a process.
Yeah.
And back in the day, dude, like you were like hand dialing. You had to make
Wolf of Wall Street.
I swear to you, 400 calls a day.
Yeah.
Before you could get up and leave.
Yeah. I believe you.
So it was an interesting part of my life, but I was the round peg in a square hole. I was, like I said, mildly successful, but my passion, I still had that. Like I want to do more in this military stuff. Like I still had, there was something I had to satisfy.
Yeah.
So I cut away and then went SF, and so I went, yeah, and real funny. So, I was in relatively decent shape, but I hadn't put on a rucksack in years, right? And SFAS, Special Forces Selection, it's all rucking. Ruck, team events, you're just rucking, right? And your feet just get turned into shit. And I remember when we showed up, they shake you down, make sure you don't have any, contraband. And I had a brand new pair of jungle boots in the box. And I remember this instructor coming up to me, and he opened up the box, and he says, "Have you worn these yet?" And I'm like, "No, sir." He's like, "Don't even unpack." But I gotta tell you, my feet were just, oh, bro, it was. I mean, I had blood blisters the size of an egg on the bottom of my feet. Anyway, I made it, and then off to the Q course I went, and other schools and whatnot. But yeah, man, a stockbroker, and of all things, people just don't relate to me as a stockbroker. Yeah, man, had my Series 7, my 63. Oh, and my 24. I had my options principal license and a registered investment advisor. But, you know, it was fun. Very stressful, though.
Yeah.
Because it was a zero-sum game. Every month, back to zero.
Yeah.
Back to zero. Back to zero.
Yeah.
You didn't pull your weight.
Boom. Well,
yeah, you know,
you could say
Tom,
that.
I want to say something real quick. So I was watching the news yesterday. Actually, Fox News, and they had Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs on there, right? And he was talking about, which was kind of interesting, was, you know, the government goes, all non-essential jobs, all non-essential, you know, employees and businesses need to shut the doors, right? And he came back with a pretty good, retort. He goes, define what's non-essential, because who is it non-essential to, right? Because everybody's job is essential. Everybody's livelihood is essential. How can you discount it, right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, words matter. But what's interesting is Joe and I have been putting out some webinars and some videos on our Facebook page talking about this very thing, right? If you went into this situation we're in right now, and you only have one skill set, one job skill, right? And all of a sudden you go, damn, I'm out of a job. What am I going to do now when I come out on the other end of this thing? You made a huge mistake before you ever went into it, long before we even got to this point, right? And so this guy, Mike Rowe, made a point. And the reason I'm putting it out there is because he said a lot of people, you know, if all you have is a hammer in your toolbox, then every problem looks like a nail. Yeah. Right, and you kind of beat it with a hammer, right? Yeah. But if you put a lot of tools in your toolbox, right, you have different tools for different problems. Okay, and so, you know, Joe was telling, you know, he's explained to you that he was a stockbroker, he was a Marine, he was an SF, he's on television. You know about my background, and that's the point to all this thing. There's people out there right now sitting at home, and I'm seeing the videos all over Facebook, right, and you know, and even on the news, you know, they're taking videos of the kitchen. Hey, we're stocked with food. You know, I got my Xbox, I borrowed from my neighbor. You know, we're watching games. You know, we're hanging out with the kids, and everybody's like, "Hey, enjoy the family time." You know, and you know, this might be a blessing in disguise. You know, and I tell that to the guy that just lost his job, that has no money, he can't make the rent. Okay, and he's got kids to feed. Is that really a blessing, or is that a curse? Right. So, but now, with all that said. Okay, just because you go into this situation with, you know, limited skills, or maybe you go into this situation with a lot of skills, okay, that doesn't guarantee that you're gonna, you know, and I don't like to use the word survive, right? Survive means you're just like hanging on by your fingernails. You come out there and I'm a survivor. I made it. I got nothing left. I survived. And I like to think of it as being a thriver. I like to, you know, embrace the suck, as we used to say. You know, we're gonna take this opportunity and we're gonna embrace it. It's gonna suck. But we're gonna take advantage of it to be better versions of ourselves and to learn and come out on the other thing either better or we have more opportunities to exploit, right? So because we came into this thing with a lot of skills and maybe everything's kind of bottlenecked for a second, but when we come back out, we've got a chance to propagate again in different directions. So this is why it's important that, you know, people that are out there listening, especially if you're a young guy, man. Don't fall for the trap that, you know, get a professional job, make lots of money, you know, like whatever, and you'll be happy for the rest of your life. Hey, man, you know what? For example, let's just say you, Tom, became a medical doctor. Go, hey, I made it. Look at that, I'm making a ton of money. I'm a doctor. You know, I'm good for life because they're going to always need doctors. Yeah. Right. And all shit. Something happens, you have a stroke, right? Yeah. And now you're disabled. Yeah. And you can't really function at the level that you need anymore. Yeah. I mean, you're still functional, but not on the level where you probably can be trusted with medicine or issuing medicine or handling a scalpel. Right now, what are you going to do? Right? Have you got a fallback plan? And so it doesn't matter, you know, how successful you are at one thing. You know, if that can always go down the toilet for you, man. And you better have a contingency plan. In fact, you know, Joe will tell you in the military we have what we call PACE plans for communication, which is primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency, right? If one radio didn't work, the primary radio didn't work, we better have an alternate radio, we better have a contingency means for communication, and we better have an emergency means for communication, right? The first one, we might be using a satellite, that thing shits the bed. Okay, the next one is we're going to use a cell phone in emergency, right? And if we get down an emergency, that means one of you assholes is going to put on your running shoes and you're going to run 10 miles with the notes. You know,
yeah.
But there's going to be a plan, right?
Yeah.
But that's how your life should be set up as well. Joe, you want to add something on that?
Yeah, man, absolutely. There was a time in my life that I didn't have. I'll be honest with you, man. I didn't have a primary and alternate and contingency and emergency. I was kind of like hyper focused on one thing.
Yeah.
And I would have to look back, but I would have to tell you, it was that part of my life that I was most scared, because it was like Dale was saying, man, this better work. And guess what? It didn't.
Yeah.
One thing that I've learned about life, and I think you, Tom, you can attest to it, and Dale, is when you think you're lining up everything dress, all you're doing is inviting Murphy to the freaking party.
Exactly.
He is just sitting in wait.
You're putting together the card castle and you're handing your friend a slingshot. Dude. And you're like, okay, break my heart. Like,
who is ever listening to this, you can take this to the bank if it's open.
Yeah.
Whenever you start setting yourself up in a business or anything, all you're doing is you're sending a freaking telegraph message to Murphy to say, hey, here I am. And shit is going to happen. Guaranteed. I've been in multiple businesses, and Dale has too. Some worked out, some didn't. But you better have backup plans, guys. And I'm here to tell you, the times I've fallen flat on my face, our backup plans had holes in them. Mm-hmm. And I'll be the first one to admit it. And unfortunately, I was like a minority owner or minority investor in these businesses, and I only had so much pool. And I'm like, guys, we're screwing up. They can't do this.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be okay. Here, let me give you one example, and I'm going to bust some people out right now. So if you're listening, like my grandfather used to say, tough shit.
Yeah.
So there was this company. This was in 2007. It was called YRT2. And they were like on the cutting edge of the smart house, when you walk in.
Yeah.
Right? And so all these people I knew that had big bucks, like multi-millionaires, were investing in this. And one guy in particular, I'm not going to mention his name, very successful guy I know, invested a lot of money. And he told me about it. And he said, we're only allowing accredited investors. And I'm like, all right, I get it. And I'm like, what's the minimum investment? He said $100,000. And I said, all right. So I invested $100,000. I bought into their initial offering, put in $100,000, right? This is in 2007. I said to them at one of the stockholders meetings, I said, I got a question for you. What happens if the real estate market shits the bed? You could hear crickets. Bam! 2008, the bottom falls out. The company goes bankrupt, and I got a $100,000 stock certificate that ain't worth the fucking paper it's printed on in my desk drawer right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is textbook. I remember this one guy saying, Mr. Teti, the market's strong. We're in a good market. They had contracts with all the big builders. They were going to go put in all the lines and all the fiber optic cable, and everybody was counting their money. Ooh.
Yeah.
Bam, dude! It was over in 6 months. They went tits up, done, and I was out $100,000. Let me tell you, bro, that hurt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's there. So yeah, I mean, just talking about lining everything up. So man, in college, when I started studying nonstop, dude, I did not have a social life. I went to the #1 party school in the nation. I went to one football game after 3.5 years there, right? I did not go out. I had so much ass thrown at me. This is when I was in great shape. I had so much ass thrown at me, and I was nope, I got work to do. Finally, aced the MCAT, published my research, get my 4.0s, applied to med school, started dating this girl my last semester of college, fall 2013. I'd put off everything, like now it's going to be good. I had lined everything up. Got into med school. I'm going to be Dr. Kerrigan. I'm going to start making bank. I know I just threw away my 20s, but I'm going to have fun when I got money. Got my girlfriend. What could go wrong? Graduate December 2013. April 15th, 2014, my oldest sibling took his life. Suicide. Gone. I had a perfect storm of having never lived, right? Because I just studied. So I went through this like midlife crisis at 23. I was 23, I was 24 at the time. I went through this midlife crisis of like, I didn't live in college, and I went through an existential crisis of losing a sibling to suicide.
Right. Sure.
And I went through just like the general like not knowing how to grieve, because I went from always just I literally used to have written above my desk, don't depend on anyone for anything, and it was just like, so I went just from this like this psychopathic hustler, like I get it done, to like all of a sudden this wasn't a weight that I could lift or work harder at. This wasn't a test that it was like, okay, I failed it but I can take it again. It was like trying to fight smoke. I was like, how do you deal with losing a sibling? Like, what could I have done? The depression, the anxiety, and it coalesced into gaining 67 pounds in 2 years. And shout out McDonald's. It was just taking every pill, smoking everything, drinking nonstop, to finally moved home in 2016 and just still losing weight. But I lined everything up and it was just like, it's perfect. And literally it was God took a baseball bat and was like, surprise, motherfucker. And it just, so I'm going on a rant, but finally this past August, I was like, you know what? There has to be multiple tiers to this. And I was like, I would like to start a podcast, but I also started online graphic design school. And I was like, start sending out portfolios now. So if this fails, I can do. And what did I also do? I went and got a job for this. I had a job, but coronavirus, I have a job for the rest of this year. It's like, so I'm setting out these multiple, like, I would love for the podcast to work. If it doesn't, graphic design degree, I know I can make. That's another thing. Taught myself graphic design. I was like, I can make that work. And if worse comes to worse, I can work at a bar. But it's like, set up these multiple tiers, because not only does setting up one tier invite Murphy to come kick you in the nuts. Know what I found, man? I found that when you set up multiple tiers, Murphy's not even attracted to you. He's like, that's gay. I can't fuck with that.
Or you become a hard target.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll go fuck with the other guy.
Exactly.
Like, when you have, hey, you guys keep talking, I have to go piss so bad. Sorry.
Where'd you find this guy, Dale?
Hey, where'd you go, man?
Ain't that true though, man? What he said is actually true. When you got like one iron in the fire, Murphy can just and guys who's ever watching, we probably need to explain this. A lot of people might not even know what we're talking about. We're talking about Murphy's Law, which basically says, when you count on everything to go right, Murphy's going to show up and throw, a wrench to your plans, and it happens. I mean, oh my God. I could sit here for 3 days and tell stories about this. I know you can too. One thing I just mentioned with Dale before, I was on a mission in Afghanistan. We're doing our comms check. We're getting ready to leave the gate. Everybody's, checking their emitters, doing comm checks. Literally, we drive about a quarter mile down the road. No comms for Joe. I don't know if I dropped my fill. I don't know what happened, but I had 0 comms through my emitter. And I was on the assault force. And so I actually just end up switching out with a guy. And again, that's changing on the fly. I'm like, I got no comms, dude. There's no way I should be on the assault team. So I pulled security, So anyway, that it happens, guys, and count on it. And that's why you've got to have backups to backups. And I don't know, it also makes you sleep better at night, knowing that if somebody pulls the rug out from underneath you, it's like, all right, you pulled the rug out from underneath me, but I got a safety net there. But
true, man. It's like, I've always had multiple streams of income of some kind or another, man. And if I lose one, I try to build another one back up so that, like you said, like right now is classic example, right? So, people are losing. My business in Indonesia is struggling, and who knows how it's going to work out in a couple months. It may shit the bed or it may continue on. I don't know, but and I'm here in Florida. My wife is in Indonesia,
right,
and she's got to manage that. I've got to manage this, and I've got to, but I have other means for making money. That thank goodness it's passive income,
right?
Royalty checks, stuff like that, to kind of at least make sure I got food on my table, food on their table if it comes to that, and a roof over the head. But, the other thing, you mentioned something earlier about, Murphy. So Murphy, for everybody listening out there, Murphy comes in many forms, okay? And Murphy's not just, a wrench, okay? Murphy doesn't show up as just a wrench into the cog and screws everything up. Murphy also shows up in the form of your friends and people you never thought were your enemies, man. And they'll be the first ones to come along and sabotage everything you've worked on. And there's a saying, with success comes enemies. And Joe and I know that better. Well, we know that as well as most successful people out there, because everybody, I think will have a story to tell you. Good Lord knows how many times I've talked to people that started a company and they had the same story I did. Their ex-business partners stole their company from under them, or blackballed them somehow. So money changes people, man. It changes. Money is very powerful. It changes people all the time. Greed, they lose their damn mind, man. And so, and it's not just partners, or business, associates. It's also those that have nothing to do with your business, the jealous ones. And trust me, they're out there. Joe and I both get hammered by these basically nobody guys and girls that just have an agenda, and so we have a choice. It's like we can sit there and swing our guns around and engage them, or we can just pop smoke behind us and just keep moving forward, which is what we choose to do, but they always try to get on a helicopter and fly in front of us and do another ambush along the way, and we have to, temporarily fight through it or diverse. But the point of this, what I'm trying to say here is, Murphy comes in many forms, and I call them fire starters or firefighters and fire starters, right? Or fire lighters. And what are firefighters? Firefighters are the ones that tell you why you can't do something, why it's a bad idea, or basically they'll try to undermine what you're trying to do. They'll use, they'll put negative press out. They'll do whatever they can to throw roadblocks in front of you and hopefully completely derail your operation, to sink your ship, so to speak. But those are, avoid firefighters out there and hang around with the fire lighters, the arsonists. That's who you want behind you, man. And I got quite a few of those, man. There's people out there I don't even know that have been behind me for years, following me, supporting me in many different ways, man, which is really amazing. The other thing I found is when I've hit some hard times, we all going to hit them. The people that I counted on the most, that I thought were my friends, that I thought could help me out for a minute, knowing that I was good for whatever, if I needed to borrow like a lot of money, like right now for a second, to get me through this gap for a minute, I'll give it right back. Crickets, man, total crickets, man. It just, it's like, okay, I know who my friends were, and ironically, a lot of my friends are people that really give a shit. I don't even know them, man. That's what was so amazing, right? So, and they're not just friends either. It's family. Sometimes your family friend members are some of your biggest saboteurs, man. And it's all because of the human condition, man. People, we tend not to want to be outshone or outdone by our contemporaries, by our peers, because then that's a testimonial against us. Like, damn, this guy just climbed the ladder and he's way up there and I'm still down here. And they think, oh man, they feel like in their mind you're a better person, and they don't want to feel like you're superior. So they try to pull you back down to their level any way they can, whether it's talk you down or deliberately sabotage your program. And we have had all our experiences where Joe can tell you, especially, people have done everything from send viruses to try to lock out our accounts, websites. It's nuts the lengths some guys will go through to include creating web pages, fake documents out there, anything they can do to basically discredit you, and hope that enough people will buy into the lie. Hitler said, if you repeat a lie enough times, people will finally buy it. And that's the technique that most people that out there that are saboteurs, as far as I'm concerned, they do that, right? They just keep lying and lying until everybody's like, okay, must be true because I've heard it enough times, right? And so so I'm telling everybody out there, from a business perspective as well, from a performance perspective, if you want to achieve something, you want to be the best you can be, you're not only fighting yourself, you're not only fighting your own shortcomings and your own confidence, you're also fighting everybody else's shortcomings and their lack of confidence, right? Because they're gonna project it on you. So you're gonna face the world and to be successful. And the ones that are successful can overcome all of that. And how do they do that? They do that through mindset, a certain type of mindset. And guess what? It's less than 2% of the population. Less than 2% of the population will achieve all their goals. Look, everybody can do one. Everybody can, do two goals. Yeah, I'm good, But try to just take on an arbitrary goal and go, Let me see you do it.
Yeah.
Can you do it? It's like shit, you know?
Yeah.
Usually they can't.
Hey, Dale, that's kind of like what I was doing. So Tom, you might not know this, but I was training for an Ironman, right? So I've done a few sprint triathlons in the past, and they were, I don't want to say they weren't challenging. I mean, but at the end of the race, I wasn't like, oh shit, I need a vacation. You know, I was actually fine. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to kick it up a notch, and I'm going to do an Ironman because that's a for real ball buster.
Yeah.
So I went on this 6-month training program, and you know, I had a lot of people just saying, dude, you're biting off way too more than you can, more than you can chew, and all this stuff. And you know, like what Dale, what I'm trying to segue into is like, I don't want to hear the negative bullshit, and I don't want you to even be around me if you're negative at this point in my life. And I got to be honest with you, I had a few people, one guy I'd known for 30 years, no lie. And every time I talked to this guy, it was negative, negative, negative. I said, bro, don't you have anything good to talk about?
Yeah.
And it just got to a point where it was affecting me, because I knew when I was getting my phone rang, I'd be like, oh man,
this
you know, here goes negative nanny. I told him one day, I said, let me tell you something, brother. I said, I'm going to give it to you from the hip. The next time you call me and you blow my phone up with negative bullshit, I'll never talk to you again.
Yeah.
And guess what? He did.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to him since.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are watching, you're like, man, what an asshole. No. Let me just say, there's a saying I have, and this may sound selfish to a lot of people, but this is a fact. You know, I may love you, but I love me more.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. This guy was affecting me in a negative way. And what Dale was saying is 100% true. You know, if people start trying to sabotage your life and just throwing these freaking ball bearings in the machine work, man, you can't even get within 100 feet of me and do that. Right
yeah.
Yeah, you're done, dude. I'll cut your ass away like a bad parachute. Like, I'll give you one warning, and after that, you're done. Poof, I'll cut you away. Because once I got rid of these people in my life, now look, it hurt. I almost called the one guy back, and I'm like, God dang. But I was just, I can't do this because it was affecting me so bad. And I'm glad I didn't now. I got over the pain of doing it, but I am in a much better place.
Yeah.
I don't worry about the phone ringing and going, oh man,
fuck this guy.
Yeah, and sure, my circle of friends have gone like that, but the people I do have in my life, like Dale and my other friends, these are positive people, man. They're high energy. You know, those are the people I want to be around. And one person can unravel that whole thing. You may have 5 positive people in your life, but let me tell you, it's that one pain in the ass, that fly in the ointment that unravels everything else.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't allow that in my life at all, men or women. Yeah, men or women, anybody.
People like
you bring negative bullshit into my life, you get one warning. Stop doing this.
Yeah, it's done. You have to take those people out, and it's not the same as like, you know, it's not the same as like, what you see nowadays with like censorship. Well, they say offensive stuff, shut them down. No, not at all. It's you have to walk the middle line.
Right.
They're allowed to say that. They're allowed to say whatever they want.
Right.
Personally, I'm not going to be around them. Like if there's a show or a politician or someone protesting something,
right.
I may completely fucking disagree with. It's like I may completely disagree with you. I think you're a dirty communist.
Right.
That is your freedom to have that point of view. What I can do in my power is change the channel. Or I can turn the TV off and go, okay, they can't be around me. What I wanted to bring up was but there are people in your life, those negative people, that just, they're the rain and you and your friends are trying to build a fucking fire. Sometimes you can't get rid of them. Sometimes you live with them, or sometimes they're your colleague and they're next to you. What I found is that there's a certain, I remember Joe Rogan said it one time years and years ago, and he's like, if you can't get rid of them, you truly can't get rid of them because of just circumstances. They are by you. He goes, start looking at it as they are your spiritual sparring partner. Look at them as like, okay, I can't get rid of their negativity. That just means I have to crank my positivity up a couple notches. And you look at it as like, it's like almost like those basketball players that will train with the weighted vests, so when they take them off during the season, they can do better jump shots. that's how I try to look at it now. Is when I am stuck with negative people day in and day out for years, I'll be like, okay, I just gotta step my game up. This just means that every time they say something, I just gotta be right back with like, deflect it or non-reactive, or just tell myself like, it's gonna work. It's gonna work. Because what that does mean is when they finally are gone, you've just been training for the real world. So you're gonna go out there and someone's gonna be like, your podcast sucks. Like, man, I've been training for years for this. Just like, you're not even thinking twice. It's almost like when you train, and like I've heard Dale describe it, it's like you don't want to train to where you have to think about like, what move do I do next. You train to the point where it's reflexive. You don't even think about it. So you want to you want to get to the point where you're like, you don't even have to think, okay, let's be positively. Someone's like, your podcast sucks. You're like, fuck yeah, it does, buddy. And you just keep walking, like, you know, like whatever. It's so, yeah, you got to cut them out when they're shitty.
My favorite sayings, Tom, is amateurs train until they get it right. Professionals train until they can't get it wrong.
Oh, I like that. Yeah,
go,
train until you can't fuck it up. That's
right. It's and Dale and I were actually talking about this the other day, and I get people asking me all the time, you know, about training and you know, train like you're going to fight, and I tell people like, yeah, it's actually true, because you know, when you train on a certain skill set, like for CQB, right?
Yeah,
and you're going to go take down a building, you've trained and trained and trained and trained. When you actually go do it, it's almost just like an extension of training. Now, granted, there's more anxiety and you're dealing with more stress, but it's kind of like anybody that you hear about talking about a sport, and Dale has more experience this than me by far, but I've had my share. But it's kind of like you're amped up while you're flying in, you know, you're flying in on helicopters, you're driving up on vehicles, but the minute you get to the door, it's just like business as usual, man. Like everything just like just slows down, and like, I've done this. You know, I've done this before, and it's just this time there's bad guys in there. And I remember when I was in the unit Dale and I were in, we were on the range one day, and I had this guy come up to me, and he was a former guy from where Dale came from, and he was an older cat too, man, but he was a stud, man. And he's like, hey, Joe, man, you know the only difference between shooting a real person and a paper target? And I said, no, sir. And he says, there's just a little more mess to clean up. That's all. I was like, Roger that, sir. You know what I mean? Like, but he meant it. Like he, you know what I mean? Like that. Those are the kind of guys I was around. So anyway, not to go there, but anyway. I don't know, Dale. What do you think about that?
No, you're right, because I think maybe we've talked about it before, Tom. I can't remember now, but you're right. When you train the way you fight, well, it doesn't matter if you train to do whatever it is you're doing. If you train like you're going to actually do the job, when it comes time to do the job, it's like training. Like I remember when we, in the unit, we used to train live fire. Everything was live bullets all the time. It was, we trained on everything that we're actually going to use for real in combat. And we did that every day. That was how, nothing was simulated. Nothing was faked. And then I remember one time when we did our raid in the Modelo prison, which is in the book American Badass, Carcel Modelo. When I talk about the infill, it was like very surreal. Okay. The bad guys were waiting for us. We knew they were there. And, the gunfights, started as we were still in the air at a slow hover, and the whole thing was surreal to where it didn't even feel like a real firefight. In fact, it felt like a training operation, a training mission. Nothing ever really seemed real, although it was, and people were dying. But in training, people were simulating getting shot and falling down, right? So you never see bullets anyway. So, it was like everything was like it was a training mission. It didn't get real until after we left the target, and we've already had several birds get shot down and get shot up, and we took casualties, and we got back to the JMAO at Howard Air Force Base. I was supposed to be the last helicopter out of 15 helicopters to arrive, and we were the only helicopter to arrive. And then we were told, reload, you're going back in, the bird got shot down. That's when it started getting like, okay, now it's real, right?
Yeah.
So, but to Joe's point, no matter what you do in life, practice, the old saying, perfect practice makes perfect. There's a lot of truth to that. Why? Because you're building that nervous system. You're building, all those things, that autogenic conditioning, either by yourself or as a collective, right? As a team. My team in Delta, for example, my assault team, I mean, we would flow through a building like water, man. We knew what everybody was going to do. I knew what shot a guy would take and he wouldn't take. You know, they knew what shot I would. It was just, we had done it so much. We were like really just one body with different appendages together, right? And so that's what made us so effective, is because we trained so many times, so many different scenarios at it, and we did it in the most extreme manner, right? Live fire bullets shooting around each other, over each other, behind each other, and it just became, you know, a normal occurrence, everything we did. So you can do it as an individual, and you can do it as a collective, you know. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be just, you know, wartime stuff. So, you know, some of you guys may have never experienced that out there, but it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're playing on a football team, whether you're working as a team in a business, right? A group of you, you're on a project together, and your job is to, you know, create widgets or a certain type of service, you know, as a team. You know, you learn, you know, everybody's strengths and weaknesses. I mean, it's funny. I was telling Joe and actually my daughter the other day, because, you know, we were talking about, you know, issues like with team building. And so this kind of falls into the realm of leadership stuff that Joe and I are teaching out there. So anytime you build a team for anything, there's basically 5 phases to team building, okay? And the first one is obviously forming the team, okay? Guys, we're going to group up, and here's our mission. This is what we're going to do together, right? And then the next part is what we call storming, and that's where all of a sudden everybody's trying to figure out where their station is, right? And so there's a little shuffling and jousting and pushing going on, and everybody's trying to position themselves, mostly because they don't understand their job description, right? They don't know what their left and right limits are. They don't know what their space is, right? They don't know where the fence is established yet, right? The fences keep moving, and people keep crawling over each other's fences, right? But once that's all sorted out in the storming process, then the next phase is norming, where we're actually working together as a team, right? And so there's these 5 steps, right? But basically it goes to that. So there's a psychological component to working as a group as well, right? And we're social animals. Bottom line, we're social creatures, just like, you know, wolves and horses and everything else out there. You know, there's a hierarchy that we abide by, that we live by, and there's order, and that's the reason we have that, is to keep order, right? So that we are more effective. So you have to be able to work, you know, as a team, and you also have to be able to work unilaterally, independently, right? Ideally, like a Delta Force operator, one of the reasons we were selected is because they want a guy that can not only work as a team and get along with the guys on the team and work as a collective, but also can go out there by himself and do the job alone. And I've seen when that doesn't work. I've seen when you have people that have their own agenda, and it just kind of screws everything up, and it's not very efficient. But anyways, so that's a long answer to Joe's you know, response is, you know, train the way you're going to fight, train the way, you know, you expect to work. You know, you go to med school, right? They're going to teach you how to do whatever you do, right? To be a doctor, right? And you're going to learn it exactly. Do it this way, you know. Don't wing it because you slept in Holiday Inn last night. I'm going to do it my way. That's, you know, do what you're trained to do, right? And if you do that, chances are you can't go wrong.
Yeah. So for to y'all's coaching, so yeah, I have a predisposition to, because I look at stuff like Tony Robbins, and so I have a predisposition to kind of look at it and almost like roll my eyes, be like, because it, you know, it's like, even I remember Joe Rogan said this years ago. He was like, Tony Robbins is just like, he's successful, but he's successful at being successful. He's like, it's not like he's a retired, you know, MMA fighter or sniper or whatever, and he's teaching you this. He's like, he's successful. He's like, and I'm not shitting on the guy. He's like, the guy's made his bank. He's like, but he's like, he's successful at being successful, if that makes sense. So for someone like me, back when I could do like 150 push-ups straight, do 40 pull-ups, and run a mile, back when I was fucking shredded, I was probably like 170. After my brother, I shot up to like 237. Right now, I'm at 205, and I'm still trying to get rid of my man titties, right? And I'm trying to grow this podcast with the same ferocity that I got into med school. Even right now, it's very tiny. But my goal is to, just like when I first started studying and, you know, barely getting A's, to beating the shit out of other Ivy League applicants. There was a long road, but I eventually got there. So how would I utilize y'all's training program to, like, how would I be able to show? So for like a real time, you could sell it in real time. How would I utilize it as someone that's doing my podcast every day, to where you could look back in 6 months and be like, now look at where his podcast is. Look how much weight he's lost. Like, look how much less of a pussy he is. Like, you know, how would people be able to, if I did tier 1 performance coaching, or if I did y'all's program, how would I benefit from that? Not to put you on the spot, but also, yeah, to challenge it, because I do have a predisposition to, again, you know, be the man you can be. Like, infomercial at 2 a.m. and it's like, if you want 10 Ferraris and a bunch of hookers, like, you can do this too. And it's, you know, so yeah. So,
Actually, let me start this. No, I'll be honest with you. When it comes to the real science behind this stuff, Dale got his doctorate in this kind of stuff, and I'm not even in his league. I know how it works, but he knows the finite stuff.
Sure.
Let me just give you one. I'm just going to give you one gold nugget. All right. It's not so much about making your podcast better and making you fitter. It's making you better. Once you make yourself better, it just leaks into everything else.
Yeah.
It just dude. It just leaks into all parts of your life. So this is one thing that I tell people. I'm going to give one really big gold nugget. And so I told this. I'm coaching this young man, and he lacks, you know, confidence and a bunch of other things. But anyway, one of the things I told him, I said, you know, what motivates you? You know, do you want the Lamborghini? Do you want this? Do you want that? And he's like, no, not really. And I said, well, then what is it about you and your psyche that motivates you to the core? And what I mean by that is motivates you to almost an emotional state. And I'll give you an example. Yeah. So I lost my mother years ago when I was in high school. Tragically, she was taken out of my life. Boom, gone. I carry a picture around in my wallet of my mom to this day. And when I look at it, it rocks me to the core. Like it's not superficial. You know what I'm saying? Cars and material things are actually superficial things, guys. Those are just a way to keep score. Look, I've had a Ferrari, big freaking deal. Yeah. You know what? I don't have it anymore. I sold it. Lost $40,000. Real smart investment, right? Yeah. Anyway, those are very superficial type of motivations. Like, perfect example. Guys go, oh man, I want to be a Green Beret. I want to wear the Green Beret. It sucks. It's a fucking hot hat. I don't ever wear it. Can't stand it. You know, I want to be a Navy SEAL. I want to wear the Trident. You know, that's great. That's superficial. Yeah. You'll never make it through the training. Never. That's what's motivating you. Yeah. Never.
Yeah.
Because when you're sucking ass and you're cold and you're wet and you got blisters and you're nauseous, you got a headache, that is not going to rattle you emotionally and go, wake up.
Yeah.
You know, but when I thought of my mom, her saying, Joe, I know you can do this. She was the only one. That gives you a huge psychological edge.
Yeah.
It has to rock you to the core. And I'll give you one more. So, and Dale and I we had a mutual friend that died tragically in a helicopter accident that Dale and I were both at. I got off the helicopter. Dale and this other gentleman were going to get on it. The other guy got on it, crashed, and killed him. As one of our dear friends. Anyway, I carry a picture of this guy in my gym bag because every morning, except for Sundays, and I talk about it in my book, he would call me at like 6:30 in the morning, wake up. And he'd already be at the gym. He'd already be at the boxing gym. And I'd be just crawling my lazy ass out of bed.
Yeah.
When I see his picture, it rocks me to the core.
Yeah.
When I go to the gym, I open up my bag. There's a little plastic, and his picture's right there. And
yeah,
dude, I've literally thrown up in the garbage can at the gym and went right back to work.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to disappoint him. Like, I know he'd be disappointed if I wasn't putting out 100%.
Yeah.
So the whole point of what I'm saying is, you want to get the top performance, you've got to find that thing, that one, not two.
Joe? Where'd he go? Did he freeze? Joe?
He's probably having a comms issue.
Oh.
He's out. I know he was outside on probably using his data, his phone.
That's fine. Yeah, you froze.
Well, anyways, I'll pick up where you left off.
No, I get what you're saying. No, you can't. You know, it's like when I was pre-med, I was never like, I want the white coat. It was like, you don't look at it like that. Even now, I mean, I have my brother's initials tattooed on my shoulder. And for me, it's not like I want to have 10 million subscribers and I want to have a big house. To me, I'm like, I look at pictures of me super overweight, you know, addicted to anxiety pills and, you know, just losing myself, long greasy hair, just, you know, blaming everyone, just the antithesis of what I was in college. And I look at myself and that's what gets me going. I'm like, it's one thing to fall that low. Like, how awesome would it be if I rose up and conquered? And to me, it's like every time I have someone up, like Delta Force, or on Friday I'm having on nuclear fusion scientists from Oxford University, and it's like every time I get some, to me it's just like, it's just a win. And I'm like I'm gonna crush it. I'm like, to everyone that said I was down and out, I'm like, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna destroy it. And like Joe's picture of his mom, that's what I see on my tattoo every day. I see my brother's initials. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking crush it. Like, I'm gonna, you know, anyone can get into med school and be in good shape. Who can lose a sibling, gain a ton of weight, get on a ton of drugs, and come back and conquer? That's my driving thing. I'm like, that I don't give a whether I have where I am now or whether I have 10 million subscribers. I'm like, I want the same mindset every day. I want the same, like, bleeding hunger. Like, I don't want, okay, I've got to the point, because once you reach the goal, the finish line, you're fucked, because you get to it. You always want to push the goal to go to the next peak. You never want to get there because you're dead. Once you stop, you're like what you said. I'm a shark. If I stop swimming, I'm dead. Yeah.
So there's two. So, you know, to expand on what Joe was saying, he's right. So my father was my motivation all my life. Everything I did was for my father. Always. I wanted to. Not that I was, you know, I had a great father. Yeah. And I always wanted to make him proud. I didn't want to disappoint him. So everything I did, it was him. Yeah. I did it for him. I literally did it for him until he passed away 8 years ago. And I remember thinking, damn, now what? Now my father's not here anymore. And then I realized now I'm not doing it for my father anymore. Now I'm doing it for my kids. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it to be the best that I can be for my family. I want to set the example. But, you know, to your point, what can we do to change and make you a better person? First thing we do is I have you challenge your paradigms. All right. Forget all the nonsense that you probably learned all your life, all the bullshit, you know, that people have beaten your head. Yeah. You know, you have to challenge all of that and ask yourself, is it really valid? You know, and then, like, for example, growing up, you know, in my era, I always felt like, okay, when you're over the age of 30, pretty much you got, you know, one leg in the grave. You know, you're an old man. That was a mindset, right? And probably so, because at that time, a lot of guys weren't as fit as they are today. And so I kind of grew up with that thinking. And then what happened was I was fortunate. I was very lucky because when I went to Delta as a very young man at the age of 23. I started looking around and looking at all these old dudes, and I'm like, man, these guys are studs. Man. They're old, but they're freaking studs, man. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, they just broke that paradigm for me. I just realized, no, man, you know what? That's why I'll be 57 next month, and I'm like, you know, I'm setting the example for, you know, hopefully a lot of other people out there. You know, I'm just getting started, man. Yeah. I'm not as good a shape up as I once was. I'm stronger than I ever was. I've been great shape. You know, I don't run as fast as I used to by choice, but overall, I'm just as healthy as I was when I was in my 20s. I have nothing wrong with me. Look, I've been injured. I've been fragmented by, you know, I got fragmentation wounds in my body. I've had concussions. I've had a lot of stuff happen to me, you know, helicopter crashes, broken bones, but nothing ails me. Nothing has slowed me down. Nothing. To this day, I'm not waking up in the morning and go, oh, my back, you know, helicopter crash, my knee, you know, so it's because of a certain mindset. So the first thing you have to do is we have to change we have to have you challenge your paradigms, and we'll go through that process with you, and then you'll start to realize through through introspection. Okay, you start evaluating your inside. Go, oh, man, these are my weaknesses, these are my strengths. We do the SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and then you do this analysis, and we got many things that we use, tools for this, so that you can kind of self-evaluate, and we can help evaluate where you are, and then pick out the direction that that you want to go, and help guide you there. But you're right. So Joe's right. You have to have something to motivate you. Okay, most people, you would think, they have family, especially, children and a wife or a husband, that they would go, you know what, for them, I am going to be the best that I can be, and do all I can. If you're a parent, you would think that they would go, and actually a lot of parents do. Most parents are like, they'll do anything for their kids, right, to make them better than them. But I'm like, you know what? Why are you not making yourself better by example, right? You can make your kids better, and you can make yourself better, right? Rather than going, hey, don't do as I do, do as I say.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do.
Right? This is where we're going about the self-leadership thing. How the hell can you lead your kids? You can't even lead yourself, right? And so you're looking at your kids and you're wondering why they're, why they're a train wreck. It's because you're the blame, right? And so there's so many dynamics at play here, and this is what Joe and I have been trying to, have sorted out, and we've come up with different programs to include programs for kids. When we say kids, we mean like teenage boys, around the age of 13 to 17.
Sure.
They're in their they're in their impressionable years, their hormonal years, right? And I think in those years, it's going to make or break them. Before, if they're going to go to college, how they do in college is depend on how they entered college, right? What their mindset, their self-leadership skills, if they even have anything, if anybody even beat them into. My dad did, and my dad literally beat them into me with a damn army belt.
Yeah.
Like if I stepped out of line, I got a beat, and my mom.
I had me and my brothers, we physically learned how to shut the fuck up.
Well, it's not even.
I know what you mean. We physically
learning, right?
learned, and we physically learned with a wooden spoon.
And look, it didn't make me, it didn't make me a psychopathic killer. Anyways, I'm not a mass murderer. I'm actually done very well, and if you ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you otherwise. I'm not stable, but I'm quite stable.
Whatever.
But anyways, to answer your question, that's kind of a long answer to even a longer answer, because it's not that simple. Like just do this and
no. I know. I get that. Yeah. When I worded it as, how does my podcast get better? How does my how do I
it's better by changing you?
But that's right? What I mean. I didn't mean to be like, they're going to tell me how to do a podcast and they're going to tell me how to diet. No, I get that, because even in college, like when it wasn't just that I knew how to lift weights or I knew how to invest. It wasn't just that I knew how to study for organic chemistry or I knew how to diet. It was very different. To me, there was a couple things you had to do. It was 8 hours of sleep. It was exercise. It was a cold shower. It was meditation, and it was eating less than you want to eat. And it was, if you could do that, your mind would get so laser focused, it would turn into a knife. And then it didn't matter what you were doing. Like the research I published, that was research with nickel toxicity on fish. That is not what I give a fuck about. I didn't give a fuck about it before, not during, and not after, all right? But I knew that would help me get into medical school, so I did it. If you looked at me as just some like meathead and you're like, you published this? Like, yeah. And it's, well, how did you get good? I didn't get good at doing research with fish. It was like 1,800 hours of research. No, I got good at honing my mind to do anything. Since I've moved home, I went from just this like meathead to science-minded med school, also got into pharmacy school. What did I do when I came home? I taught myself graphic design to the point where I was making stuff for like DJs in LA. And then I was like, I want to make a podcast. So I get that point where it's like, no, you're not learning all the, it's not like, hey, how do I learn how to hit that target and the target after that and the target after that? You're going to teach me how to use a scope, and then I'll be able to do all of those, whatever I want. So I get that. It's how do I get the mind, and then I can do whatever I want. I can get good at sewing. I can
Well, you know what it
paint.
is, Thomas, too, and I'm learning this as Dale and I have been talking. And I hate to say this, but man, I don't know if you guys agree or not, but just talking about the male population, guys have been emasculated.
The pussification of America.
I hear it from my female friends, from my cousin, everybody. We're the real men. We're okay. I surround myself with real men anyway, so like I kind of see it, and I don't though. I see it when I'm out and about, but my circle of influence are real men like Dale. Like he's a man's man, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do with this, you know, let's face it, the majority of our coaching is going to be towards the male population.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fine. Well, you're males,
So, and it's not that we're doing it by choice, but I mean, of course, we take on female clients. But the bottom line is, men relate to us better than a woman would.
Well,
but what we're doing is, to be quite frank and to shrink it down, we're empowering a man to be a man.
Yeah.
We're giving you the tools that can shape your person to be a better man, and to have the confidence. Look, and Dale will tell you this. I'm sure you do too. You've had this happen yourself. You know, like when you work out, right? You know, I actually get euphoric feeling knowing, like right now, if you were to say, Joe, go out and run 10 miles, I can't. Joe, go out and swim 2 miles, I can't. There's a power to that. Like it's a confidence that it gets into your whole psyche. And that's why Dale was saying it's the mind, body, spirit, but spirit, not so much in the religious, but the ether, as Dale would call it. And that's the energy, right? But it's a combination, just like the fitness triad, you know, nutrition, exercise, and rest and recovery. If one of those legs are missing, it don't work.
The whole thing's fucked.
Well, it's the same with what we're doing. You may be, you know, this and this, but if you're physically a mess, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You may have the right mindset, and you've got to have it. All the pistons have to be firing for optimal performance.
Yeah.
If two are firing, sure. Maybe you got a 500 horsepower engine that's running at 400 horsepower. But if we tweak this one little cylinder, now all the cylinders are firing. Now you're rocking and rolling. Bro. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's what we do. We tweak, and it's all there. Yeah. This is the scary part. Everybody has it. Yeah. But like Dale says, you have to have a little paradigm shift. You got to quit thinking, you know, and follow the rest of it. Like Dale said, following all the sheep right off the cliff. You're just grazing right off the edge of the cliff. You got to tweak your thinking a little bit. You know, lift your head up and kind of see what the hell's going on around you. But that's all it is. We're just tweaking the engine, and that's why we call it mind-body engineering. Yeah, and because we're working on your mind, your body, and the ether. That's it. Because we've done it. And I'll be the first to tell you, I don't have nearly, not even close to Dale's education, but, you know, I've got experience, you know, just like Dale does. Yeah. And so I would rather be taught by someone like myself that's been there and done that. And like, yeah, if I failed, sure, everybody fails, you know, and that's a part of being a man. Yeah. Looking in the mirror and say, yeah, I've fallen on my ass, but I got up. Yeah. Yeah. You know? I can't stand these people that say, I've never failed. Really?
Then you haven't pushed hard enough.
Never failed with that shit. Then you need to be coaching me, because I don't know how you could possibly be a grown-ass adult and you've never failed. But I'm going to tell you how. You've never done a damn thing. Yeah. How does that saying go? A knight in shining armor, he's never had his armor tested. Yeah. What did Elon Musk say? Right? What did Elon Musk say? If you're not if you're not failing, you're not innovating enough. He's like, if my rockets aren't blowing up occasionally, then I'm just not going balls to the walls. But he'd literally be like, so when they'd be like, how would you feel about that failure? He'd be like, fantastic. I know that, you know, he's like, I go to the point of failure, and then I'm like, okay, and then we bring it back 1%. Yeah. Everybody's afraid of that word.
Yeah. Yeah, no, dude, failure is your best fucking friend, man. Failure is your best fucking friend, because it's only absolute if you accept it and go, I failed, and now it's finished forever. No, failure just means...
Like, dude, I don't know if you ever read the story about Dyson. Dyson vacuum cleaners. I've read it.
You're breaking up.
To fail to learn how to know what you're doing wrong to succeed. You know, there's nothing wrong with failing.
Joe, your image froze again. There you go. You're back. You're saying, yeah, no, it's, yeah, you gotta... It's,
you there, Tom?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, guys, just an FYI, I'm in the boonies.
Yeah,
I'm in the boonies.
You're fine.
I apologize. I'm in the boonies right now, kind of like my little fallback place.
No. You should apologize, Joe. Fuck you. Yeah, no, no, dude. If you're not, I mean, dude, you have to get rejected. If every person I ask to come on my podcast says yes, then I'm not aiming big enough. I told Dale, fucking. Once I got Dale to come on my podcast, I was like, oh shit, I got a Delta Force guy. And I was like, so I got to start aiming higher. So what did I do the next day? I sent an email to retired General Mattis, and I got a fat no. But I got a response from Mattis' secretary. She said General Mattis laughed and said he's flattered. Okay. Yeah, but I was like, okay, bring it back a little bit. Mattis said no. So I asked someone else, said no. Got a little lower. Got a scientist from Oxford, and he said, yeah, I'll do your podcast. And I was like, boom, there we go. And now I'm going to start going forward from him. What?
You should ask Matt, hey, man, you going to let a Delta Force guys outperform you?
The thing is I sent an email to him, and I was like, hey, I would like to talk to General Mattis for my podcast, and, like, I didn't get a response. And so I was like, shit, well, I was like, he's a paid speaker. So, like, a week went by, I didn't hear back anything. So I was like, so I sent another email, and I said, hey, would General Mattis like to do my podcast? 30 minutes. I won't bring up war. I won't bring up politics. I just want to ask him, how is he staying sane during retirement? Got a response an hour later. And I was like, okay, I'm tweaking it. And it was, General Mattis laughed. He said he's flattered, but he's far too busy. He's making bank doing talks. I get it. But I was just like, okay. But then I was like, okay, bring it back a little bit. Now I got to go a little lower. But yeah, no, I should have played on and been like, hey, man, these Delta Force guys said you're a pussy. I'm just, not, they're calling you out. So, yeah, man. Yeah, man. My cousins.
You know what's so funny though, Tom?
Yeah.
Tom, you know what's so funny? It's just like a good analogy too. Is like when guys go to the range and shoot, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have that pretty little target with a hole shot out of the center of it, right? And this is what I tell people all the time: you're shooting too freaking slow.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, you need to speed up your shots. You got to find that balance between speed and accuracy.
Yeah.
And I shoot at least once or twice a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of shooting. So I will shoot and purposely shoot faster and take my rounds outside of the A zone.
Yeah.
Just to dial in my speed and then bring it back a little bit.
Yeah.
That's how you get better. And that's a perfect analogy because they'll probably seen it too. These guys want to have these pretty little targets. Like, dude, that's not impressing me. All that tells me is they're shooting slow and you know all the 7 fundamentals. That's about it.
Yeah.
But when you start spreading out your runs, that's telling me I'm trying to shoot faster. I'm trying to get target acquisition quicker, trying to get on the trigger faster. That's what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
When you push yourself past your limits, then you reel yourself back in, push past, reel yourself back in, and then that limit grows and grows and grows.
That's how you
have to go past.
Yeah.
You got to go past to get better.
If you're not approaching women who are so far out of your league that they're laughing before they say no, well, then you're not going at the limit. If every girl says, yeah, sure, I'd like to eat a cup of coffee. Well, bro, I mean, hey, whatever, golf clap. But like, if you're not going up to some dime who looks you up and down and literally just gives you like a visual fuck off, all right, bring it back a little bit. Go next girl. Okay. Next. And then finally a girl says, yeah, I'll let you buy me a drink. And it's like, all right, like we're in business, and you're the man. But that's how you got to do it, dude. That's what failure. I mean, literally working out.
It's the mindset, Tom.
Yeah, lifting weights to failure. It's literally called to failure. Like you get to that point.
There's a reason they call it that.
Yeah, but like you said, man.
I didn't make that shit up.
Yeah, the fucking pussification of America, man. We had every guy's like, well, I'm not too sure if I want to fail at that thing. I'm like, dude. Fail and get up and make it your bitch. Well, I don't know, man. I think it's toxic masculinity, dude. If you use that term, get a noose and fucking hang yourself because you're an embarrassment. Toxic masculinity. There's too much testosterone in society nowadays.
Yeah, that's why Joe and I are doing what we do, man. You know, we're not going to try to save all the beta males out there.
No, they can't be saved.
We're here to help those that want to help themselves, want to be better versions of themselves. You know what? There's nothing wrong. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Okay, that's just something the left made up.
Yeah,
that's something snowflakes made up.
Yeah,
that's what there's no such thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and masculinity is not a bad thing. Okay,
No.
there's nothing wrong with being masculine. Okay, this whole thing, what's toxic? Okay, what is toxic, anyways? You know, we can talk about toxic femininity all day long.
Yeah.
I can tell you what's toxic about women if you want to go down that road.
Yeah.
You know, the reality is, you know, men should be men, women should be women. You know, unfortunately, we have too many people out there that think.
No, let's not go there.
Yeah, I know, but you know, the point is, at the end of the day, man, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a man.
And there's nothing wrong with being a woman.
And here's how I relate to that. I had a real life example of how it can go bad. I won't go into all the details. I won't give you the time, but I'll give you the location. It was in Afghanistan, and we had basically, long story short, there was a big military operation, U.S. military, Afghan National Army, my guys, and make a long story short, there was a U.S. Army MRAP had been hit in an ambush, took casualties, guys were laying around, they were still getting hit, you know, they're laying out in the open. My platoon of guys came around the corner, one American and the rest were Afghans, and they looked and go, damn, you guys are laying out there getting shot up, you know, when you guys are sitting under the tree here up against the wall with your gear off, you know, and your helmets off, chilling out, and entire platoon. And he asked them, why are you not doing anything? And the response was, hey, it was too hard. It's too hot, man. It's too hot, right? That was basically, it's like, hey, man, it's too much trouble to go out there. It's hot right now. Let's wait till the sun goes down. We'll go out there when it's cool. And he called up the captain and asked him, sir, what's going on? How come your men aren't out there saving your American buddies, you know? I can't get them to do anything. I can't, you know, it's like, damn, dude, you're totally impotent, you know? And so what ended up happening was our guys went out there and actually pulled Americans off the objective and started provide medical aid for them. And so that was a big stinking deal. And that wasn't that long ago. And when you look at, okay, this is what we got now. This is the next generation that's out there on the battlefield. Not saying that all millennials are bad. I'm not saying that there's good dudes out there as well. But this is a different mindset. And this mindset has been basically slowly been kind of like introduced to the new generation, even the military, you know, even the military. Yeah. One of the reasons I got out in 2001 was basically in basic training, you couldn't yell at the trainees, right? And if you did, they actually had a stress card. They pull it out of their pocket, hold it up, and the drill sergeant had to stop yelling at them and leave them alone because you're stressing them out. Okay, that's no shit. They didn't have to pass the physical fitness test in basic training. The idea was, well, when they show up to the unit, your sergeant will train you to get you in shape. And I thought, man, that is just a bunch of crap because I don't have time to get you in shape. It got worse, right? Even on the special forces team, they took out the requirement to know how to swim. They're like, well, if you don't know how to swim, when you go to your team sergeant has to teach you how to swim. And I actually had a water team. And I'm like, dude, if you show up to my team today, we might have to deploy tomorrow on a water mission. If you can't swim, I can't use you. So you shouldn't show up to my team untrained. But that was the mindset, right? And the whole gentler army came, starting to come about, and that's where I decided that's it for me. I'm out of here. And that has never really gone completely away, And I'm not trying to say that everybody falls in that category. There's some good dudes out there, some good soldiers out there, but there's a prevailing attitude, and we've all heard it, man. We've all heard everybody gets a trophy attitude. There's no losers. Everybody's a winner. And be kind, be sensitive. Come on, man. You know what? It takes rough men, man. It takes rough men to fight wars. And we're not. That generation is lost, man. I have the utmost respect for those that fought in World War II, World War I, even the Vietnam and Korean Wars. Those guys were still, those were still men's men. And there's been this whole new society, and I don't know where it started. I don't know if it started with Dr. Spock, but this whole mindset that we've got to be, we got to be kind and gentle, and we're all equal, and we have to cut the boys' nuts off, so they can be with the girls, and come on, man, we're killing our society. While we're doing that to ourselves, that's not just American society; it's the West. You go look at the East, man. You look at the Russians, the Chinese,
you look at Russia,
the North Koreans, even the Afghans, the Taliban, how they're training to fight. They're fighting the way we used to train in the 50s and 60s, man. Yeah. When we were churning out pipe hitters, they're doing now what we were doing then. Yeah. And it's flipped, man. And so, and people don't think that's a big deal, and the average person that's sitting on the couch, they just can't they just don't grasp that concept because they're sitting in the cozy living room, you know, and even now there's a coronavirus war going on, if that's what you want to call it, you know, and they're like, oh, I'm scared. I hope the coronavirus doesn't invade my house and kill me. And I end up in the hospital, and they're hoping to God that somebody's out there fighting the war for them, which they are. You know, you got first responders out there, doctors, soldiers, everybody, you know, doing their part. But while the sheeple can sit at home and judge, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, what we want to do, and when I wrote my book, I'll shut my mouth here in a second. You know,
You're
like
fine, dude.
When I wrote my book, American Badass, you know, I got a lot of blowback from, not a lot, but there's some people that, you know, gave me a hard time, you know. Actually, some good friends of mine were like, you know, a real badass doesn't have to tell people he's a badass, you know. Everybody knows that, so we're no longer friends. I'm like, wow, you're an idiot because
that was your nickname.
Don't judge the book by the cover.
But that was your nickname. That was guys on the show gave you that nickname. Exactly.
But the point of the book was not to show you that I'm a badass. It was actually, I jokingly tell people, is to show you that I'm a good ass. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean in a sexual way, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe. But, you know, the point to all that is, being a badass American is about being a good patriot, a good citizen, a good soldier, a good father. You know, those are the things that embody what I think is a badass, right? Being a badass, being a troublemaker, you're a dumbass, okay? And you deserve your ass kicked.
Yeah.
And so that's the point to all this thing, right? Is, you know, if you want to be a badass, you know, be a badass by being a good person, man, a good man. Yeah, what exemplifies, you know, a good man? You know, look at those that have built this country and have made it what it is today. It was hard, rough men and women have created this country, you know, and it's not the snowflakes of today. They're tearing it down.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my little rant.
No,
Buy American Badass.
Buy American Badass in stores now. No, but no, I was gonna say that, man. Like that was literally when you were on that show. That was the nickname the other contestants gave you was American Badass. Yeah, no. For anyone that's like, who would write a book named American? It's like, dude, it was his nickname. That was not yours. But yeah, the other thing I was gonna say is, and I've brought this up in past episodes, man. Like, your book is the exact opposite of there I was, no shit, you know, covered in dog vomit with night vision on. I haven't slept in a week. No, it was like, so there I am, man, vomiting lobster into my bulletproof vest, and I feel like a dumbass. Like, it's the exact opposite of, like, Black Ops. It's like, no, it is, like, on one page, it's like Black Ops, and the next day it's like, yeah, man, I felt like such a dumbass. Like, you know, I'm sitting there just like, oh, I'm so stupid. Like,
you know what? The reality is, there's a human side to us, man.
Yeah,
you know, me
exactly.
and Joe and all of us, man, we're at the end of the day, we're just human beings, man.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know. And the reason we can do all the things that we do is because we have this superhuman mindset.
Yeah.
Man, you know?
Yeah.
We're willing to do the hard thing to be better people, and not only for ourselves, but for our country.
Yeah.
You know, and for our fellow citizens and our families and friends. It's all mindset that makes us so different. You know, when I was a Delta Force operator, I weighed 164 pounds, dude.
Yeah.
Soaking wet.
Yeah.
You know, an average guy was about my size over there.
Yeah. I told you, my best shape,
you know?
I was pushing like 170.
So, you know, and it's like, but we carried a lot of freaking weight at our size. You know, he talked about in one of our on one of our videos about, you know, how much weight you carry in a backpack, you know, related to your, you know, your body weight percentages, you know, 20-30%. But hell, he can tell you, I carried at least 50 to 60% of my body weight on my back.
Yeah.
I weighed 164 pounds. My rucksack never weighed less than 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Never. You know, with all the goddamn batteries and you know, gear and crap ammo and stuff and a little bit of food. You know, but you know, I carried it perfectly. I carried it just like I carried it no problem. Like a part of my body, you know.
Yeah.
Do the mindset and training.
Yeah, I was good.
So, anyways,
I was gonna say, yeah, just talking about like the human side of it. It's another thing that comes with failures. I've had so many people ask, they're like, "Dude, how did you get Comstock on your podcast?" I give them the same answer. I emailed them.
Yeah.
They're like, "How'd you get him on, man?" I emailed them. Very professional. Said, "Mr. Comstock, would you like to do this?" What did he say? He said, "Yeah, LOL." And so I said, "Okay, yeah." And he's like, I was like, and it's all gravy. He was like, "How'd you get him?"
I'm gonna use Joe's word, man. I'm gonna throw you a nugget, a little golden nugget, right?
Yeah.
And so here's a little golden nugget. 40% of the time, if you ask for something, you get it.
Yeah.
100% of the time, if you don't ask, you don't get anything.
Yeah, you do not get it.
Think about that for a minute.
You didn't get it. Yeah. Matta said no. Okay, cool. Like, Dale said yes. Win-win. It's like I got one, I didn't get the other.
There's more 4-star generals out there, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. I tried to get you.
I can get you some generals if you want some generals on there.
Dude, get me some, please. Get me some. I'm trying to get. Yeah, dude. Because I'm trying to get more and more guests.
I can get you the first black Green Beret general.
Can you?
Yeah.
Please do.
General Butler.
Yeah, I can probably get Remo Butler on.
Please do.
Yeah, Remo Butler. Yeah.
I gotta check with him, but
dude. Yeah. What's up?
He was a 7th group commander, wasn't he, Dale?
Yeah, 7th group.
Yeah.
He and I used to box together at the Fort Bragg boxing gym together.
No shit.
You know, we used to box and spar together. We made some videos together. Good friends, and I'm still in touch with him today.
My dad didn't know him well. My dad's from a small town, but I think my dad's younger brother, my uncle, is good friends with them. I know they were in the same social circle, but Mike Durant. Yeah. I don't know how to go about getting him on my podcast, but I was like, yeah, I need to get him on my podcast. But yeah, it's not really other ones like him, but I don't know how I'd get him. But yeah, no, dude, anyone, y'all send them my way. Get some fucking people and send them my way.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So Tom, you watched my show?
Yeah.
Did you watch my show?
Dual Survivor? No.
You never watched it?
I'm sorry. Did you? Are you angry?
Oh, that's it. That's the end of this podcast.
What? No.
Yeah, nice talking.
Yeah.
Because, dude, everybody relates to me to this damn show, and what I tell people, it's like Dale says all the time. That's just one step in my life. It was a job.
Yeah.
You know, and I transitioned into it and out of it, and like, you can't relate people to like certain things, and like people relate to Dale and I being in spec ops, all that stuff. But like Dale said, we're people, man. That was just a job.
Yeah.
It was a unique job, and it shaped us to who we are and taught us how to be, have that winning mindset. But it's the whole idea of like when I talk to people, not judging a book by its cover. We already talked about that. You got to be very careful in life. And the whole thing I'm bringing up here is be very careful in life. As you climb the ladder of success, who you step on to get to that ladder. Because guess what? Those asses that you're stepping on are the same asses you're going to kiss on the way back down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I talk about this in my book a little bit as well.
What's your book?
You got to be very careful. One chapter is just on business.
What's your book?
One's on relation. Yep.
What's your book?
Yeah, so my book is coming out May 10th. It's called Lone Operator.
All right.
It's on Amazon right now. It's also online.
Is it going to be on Audible?
And it's basically an autobiography first. It took me about a year to write it. But it's an autobiography, but it's also lessons learned. Me growing up, and I was bullied in high school and all this stuff, like how I moved through a lot of tragedy in my life and got in the military and tragedy here and how do you work through that kind of stuff and stay focused. And there's a lot of insight to how I grew up and like my mindset of when I was like 7 years old, wanting to be in the military and I wanted to be the commando and all that. And so, and it goes all through, the show. I talk about a couple stories in the show, and then I talk about business. I talk about relationships and stuff like that. But which is really funny because the publishing company, I told them, I said, man, I really don't want to talk about relationships. I really want to steer clear. And they're like, you need to have that in there. You've got female fans and stuff. So I don't get into the dirty, the X-rated stuff. Obviously, I keep it PG-13. Because either young men and young women may be reading it, so I keep it very. But man, it comes out May 10th, and it's great because Dale's got a book about the same thing. So it segues great into what we're doing. We're both published authors. And I've read. I have a copy of Dale's book, autographed copy, and I've read it. And I've actually highlighted things in it that's great gold nuggets. And my book's got a few in there too. So, but yeah, it comes out May 10th. And I've got some pretty good. I actually sent out like 15 copies to different people, and I've got some really good reviews. Some pretty high-powered people that'll be on the back of the book. And but yeah, man, it was It was a lot harder than I thought, actually, because I'm not, I didn't do, I'm not an English major.
Yeah.
But I had a guy help me, Liam Wolf, and he's a former Navy intel guy. So what I was talking about, I didn't have to explain to him what words meant, intel and, exfil and infill. He already knew it all. So he basically, I wrote the book, and then he kind of put it together for me, like, hey, you need something here.
Yeah.
Like, you went from here to here. What happened?
Yeah.
So he was a huge help.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm real proud of it, man. I never thought I'd be a published author. I didn't think that'd be one of my accolades.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty proud of it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, I never fucking thought I would have started a podcast.
Yeah.
You guys trying to keep this podcast going? You want to keep talking, or you guys got stuff to do?
Yeah, I think.
How long do you normally do it for, bro?
Yeah. Well, yesterday I did one for 30 minutes, and I've done one with some guys, Air Force guys, 4.5 hours. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah.
Joe's got to do a coaching call here a bit.
All right.
Yeah, I actually have a coaching call in about 25 minutes.
All right.
But,
well,
wrap it up with
yo, let's you fuckers want to do another one sometime?
Yeah, we'll do another one.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck
We'll
yeah.
do that.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Dale, I'll send you my schedule.
Okay.
And let's do it again. Yeah, man. I got too many fucking questions, but yeah. Yeah.
right.
Thanks for doing it, guys. Your book's not out yet, so Dale, I'll link your book, and I have your tier 1 operator link, so I'll put that up there too. But sorry, tier 1 performance coaching. Yeah. Loan operator, tier 1 performance coaching.
There you go.
Fuck yeah. So let's definitely do another one. Oh,
right.
Here's the quote to leave everyone with. I was gonna say about using you guys for training your mind and life coaching. There's a quote that I always love, and it's never trust a skinny chef. All right, because that's a guy that hasn't had his own cooking. So yeah. Well, y'all are perfect. You can get leadership from you, because it's not just you guys want to be number 1. Welcome to Tommy's leadership class. It's like, no, you're two fucking badasses. So yeah.
You want girls? You want money?
Yeah, you want girls? You want money? Well, call this number now. You can have a cheesy as smile as me. No. If you're a limp dick, spineless beta male, go do those. But if you want to grab your nuts, do tier 1 performance coaching. Dale Comstock, Joe Teti, thank you very much for doing the podcast, and let's do another one, guys.
Sure.
Thanks,
All right,
man.
guys.
All right.
Take care.
Peace.
Brother.
Peace.